Climbers, today I'm going to reveal how you can avoid complete emotional devastation from everything in your life, including artist and songwriter rejection.
That sounds fun.
Welcome to the Climb! This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. This podcast exists because we want you to win, and you're going to need leverage to do it. That's why we called it The Climb, C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Are you picking that up? That is a back syndrome from my good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter. Brent's an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Lady A, Joe Nichols, and more. And he's Randy Chappis in there too. Let's not forget about him. Got a couple number ones. Yeah, got a couple number ones last year in Southern Gospel, and a couple more cuts coming this year. All kinds of opportunities happen. What I love about Brent is he helps songwriters like you become pro by revealing how you write like a pro, do business like a pro, and then he connects you with the pros on the regular so that you can get your opportunities and step up that ladder. You can find Brent very easily at songwritingpro.com. Once again, that's songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They're breaking artists digitally by identifying new fans through data. If you're an artist looking to increase your streams, blow up your video views, sell more live show tickets, and get discovered by new fans, TV, and music industry pros, then Daredevil Production can help. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. I got a ride on the books with Andy next week. I'm excited about that. Anyway,
you do?
I do.
Griggs?
Yeah,
that's cool.
He's a hoot. Anyway,
my God, he's so funny.
He's great. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That is production singular, no S, and there is no S because there is no other Johnny D.
What do you think about that statement?
That missing the rejection and for my emotional health? At the beginning of that statement, I could use.
You're never, when we're done with this episode, you're never going to fail again, Brent.
I feel like Dave Chappelle, scratching my neck a little bit. You got any more that never fail again? You got some of that? You got any more of that never fail again? No more of that rejection? You got any more of that?
Exactly. Exactly. So this episode kind of piggybacks off my last episode 2 weeks ago. It's episode 296. Your results don't matter. If you haven't heard about that, you should. I recommend you go back and listen to that episode. It's a good one. But we talked about identity gaps and how knowing how to do something doesn't have anything to do with the results, right? So so many of us wait to get the results because we want to know first, right? Like we want to perfect a process we've never tried. And but yet we had mentioned you know how to be a better wife or a better husband, you know how to be healthy. Why aren't you doing it? But you're not. So the results aren't connected with the knowing. It's only with the action. So in this episode here, I'm going to go deeper into identities because we talked about identity gaps in that last episode, right? Like if you have a dream and you're not living that dream, that's an identity gap. There's something that's missing there that needs to be fixed. And in this one, we're going to go deeper into identities, and I'm going to reveal a secret that has the potential to forever change your life, man. Like it might forever change your life because if you adopt and internalize this information, you'll straight up never fail again. And that's pretty good.
That's a bold statement, brother. That's
a bold statement.
It's bold.
That's right. So before we do that, let's take care of some business here. We're always happy to be a part of American Songwriter Magazine's podcast network, ASPN. You can find it at americansongwriter.com/podcast. We're one of the flagship shows on there. If you are a longtime climber, go check out some of these other shows. If you found us at American Songwriter Podcast Network, then welcome to The Climb. And we want you to subscribe to the Suncast, which is like this curated list. I think it's like the top five sort of stories for each one of the podcast shows they have. And they got about 15. So this isn't like throwing everything at you plus the kitchen sink. They're like, hey, here's the top 5 podcasts this week. It's just an email that comes on Sunday. It's free. And it just does some curating for you so you can focus on what was really hitting that week. And because it can get a little overwhelming, I think, with all.
Or as I like to say, the Suncast shows you the other 4 top podcast.
Yeah, that's right. I like that better.
Thankfully, we've been living in there for the past several weeks, so we want to keep
I
that
like that a lot
going.
better. I like that a lot better. But
Yeah.
join the C.L.I.M.B community at Facebook. So it's facebook.com/the C.L.I.M B community. This is a thriving community, very protected. We're very protective of our community, of our members. So there's not going to be any BS in there, man. It's just all about songwriting. It's all about artists and promotion and the different things that you need to do to get ahead. There's relationships being made with songwriters getting co-writes and getting cuts and getting syncs, and people asking questions about, hey, this strategy, that strategy for promotion, etc. And there's places in there where you can talk about your gigs, where you can talk about your wins and get some support and get some love, get everybody gonna love on you. And just if you've got stuff to add in that community, by all means, if it's helpful to the whole community, add it. If it's about you, put it where it's supposed to be. We want to hear that too, but we've just got a place for that. That's with the Thursday. It's Thursday gigs, right? With the
Thursday, yeah, the gig alert comes out on Thursday mornings usually. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then the New Heights section on Wednesday, which is Wednesday Wins, we kind of call it. And what do we got going on there recently?
Well, actually, before that, because we are professionals, we forgot to, I think, give the link for the Suncast. So if you want to sign up and get the top 5 podcast every Sunday. So it's americansongwriter.com/suncast. And that's SUN as in Sunday cast. americansongwriter.com/suncast. So just want to make sure we got that in there because, half helpful ain't that helpful. So, all right. So our New Heights. So we post every Wednesday, as Johnny said. I'm just going to look down through these and share a few from some good old climbers here. Let's see here. Randy Maynor, he said, found out that Johnny and Brent took my hook, that my hook made the song title Challenge, and I can't wait for this podcast to hit Friday. So this is already dropped by the time you hear this episode, and got some people high-fiving him. And that was that, what title was that? That was a Hit It Head On.
Hit It Head On.
Hit It Head On.
And we did that with
Dustin Bird.
Canadian
singer-songwriter, climbing the chart there. So we got that. Terry Birch said, got accepted to play at a 2-day songwriter festival in Louisiana. Had 3 songs finished in the top 20 for Brent's upcoming round of play for a publisher 2-night extravaganza, which we just finished up. So she was killing it. Got good comments from Woody Bomar of Green Hills Music Group and John Ozier of Reservoir Music. So got some attention there. And she said,
some attention for for a songwriter
from
at one of your events, and from real publishers who make stuff happen.
What? Yeah,
and not just like on one of those sites the names where you pay a subscription and they're like, we getting you in front of the professionals. No, here we got names. We got names of the people that got in front of the professionals. We got names of the professionals they got in front of.
That's right.
And there was relationships made. That's called legit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna brag on you right there.
That's right. Well, I'm just looking down over the notes, and Terry had a song that John Ozier said, man, he thinks someone's going to cut it, and is like, it's one of those ideas. He's like, oh yeah, how has that not been a thing already?
Why haven't I heard that?
Why haven't I heard that? And I think somebody cut it. So getting some love, getting something like, well, John, why don't you just help make that happen for Terry? That way we can go to a #1 party. And I can be there.
Not for nothing, Terry's made a relationship with John. You know what I mean? So that's an at-bat with multiple at-bats because she's focusing on the relationship instead of, is he or is he not going to get my song cut? This one. It's like, no. Stay, get on the team. We just need to get on the team and get as many at-bats as we can. The more at-bats you have, the more chance for a single, a double, a triple, a home run, a grand slam.
That's right. So anyway, there are other wins going on there and people high-fiving each other. So I'm not going to share all of them because we don't have all day, but there are a lot of wins going on there. And so we're just proud of our climbers and just wanted to keep on climbing and share those wins. Love that.
Heck yeah. I love that. And hey, subscribe to the podcast or follow it depending on what platform you're on, wherever you're at. And most importantly, guys, you spend this time with us because you're getting some kind of value from it. It's not because you're benevolent to no matter how much you may love Brent and I. You're not doing it out of the kindness of your heart. You're doing it because we have a mutual contract here. You're coming because you think you're going to get something that can be useful to you, to your career, to your mindset, to your framework, to your processes on your daily basis to become a successful songwriter or artist. And we value that very greatly.
Mhm.
Tell somebody about it. That's what we want you to do.
Yep.
Tell somebody. Let them know, hey, this is what's going on. So here we go. So you ready to get into this? You ready for me to back up?
I got my paper out. I got my pen out. I'm glad this has been recorded. Johnny, how can I never fail again?
Perfect. Here we go.
I got areas that need attention.
So here we go. First of all, we all have identities. And so we're going to go deeper dive into identities,
Mhm.
right? We all have identities that we associate with, and we all have multiple identities, and that's not to be confused with multiple personalities, LOL.
Right.
But these multiple identities, they're a part of who we are. They resonate with us, right?
Mhm.
I'm a significant other with someone I love. I'm in a relationship, and I want to be, I want to be a good boyfriend right now. I'm also a rocker.
Mhm.
I love the rock music. I love it all the time. By the way, I got to tell you, after the show, saw this amazing showcase last night, dude,
Oh, yeah?
with Ray Hamilton. It was, and not for nothing, somebody you love. It was Keith Stiegel
Oh, yeah?
project, and it was they're called uh, Outlaw Apostles.
Oh, I haven't heard of them yet.
That's the name of the band. It's a Southern rock band. They were freaking unbelievable, by the way. Okay. So of course that was right up my alley. I mean, the drummer's doing rock fills, like quads, and doing some cool stuff, and it was just great, dude. Yeah, they're just I don't know if they're out yet, but man, they're killer.
Well, I can so Keith's working. So I'm making notes here because what I'm going to do is I'm thinking I'm automatically going through my Rolodex of like Southern rock country
Mhm.
songs, or is it like more like straight Southern rock? Southern rock country
It's
kind of bleeds over.
it's like Southern rock country, but it's leans more towards Southern rock than towards country. They definitely have an edge. I mean, they're singing about everything. I can promise you they're never gonna be on a Southern gospel channel. You know what I mean?
Southern rock, not Southern gospel.
Like, yeah,
Not
that's right.
Southern rock of ages. No, it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
So,
So what I'm doing is
yeah.
I'm taking notes of like, do I have anything for that? Maybe, huh? And I have contacts over there, so I'm writing that down. And go, I'm okay. Let's see
Yeah.
if I need a pitch over there.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it was fantastic, man. I mean, really good double guitar. Everything was just so good. And at five guys in the band, every one of them sings like an angel.
Whew.
And
Play
so
like a
big
devil.
harmonies.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. And so listen, nothing against Telecasters. I love tellies. That's Tom Petty. That's a lot of cool stuff. But there were no tellies up on stage. The main lead guy had a Strat and was, dude, straight up shredding. The lead singer also played guitar. He had a Les Paul Jr. and so did the other guitar player who also did leads, right? Like he wasn't like the main lead guy, but a lot of times they come together and do harmonies and stuff like that. It was definitely Southern rock that you might be able to sell on country. I'm not sure yet, but it was. I guess I was talking about that with Ray. Like, can you sell on country radio? And I'm thinking probably not, right? Because like if you can imagine how scary it is to when the boat is like just the surface of the boat is above the water because it's like practically sunk. You really don't want to rock the boat because it's just going to go under.
Right. Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that. But man, it sure was good. But so I identify as that a rocker. Everybody just knew that about me. They're like, Johnny, they just looked at me like, well, what did you think about this? And I'm like, are you kidding me? That was amazing. Like I was loving it. I identify as a businessman. I'm a teacher. I'm an older brother. I'm a son. I'm an uncle. I'm a friend. I'm a producer. I'm a podcast co-host. I'm a marketer. I'm an ad specialist. Brent, your identities are a songwriter, a husband, a brother, a son, a father, a Christian, a friend, a businessman, a teacher, business owner, podcast co-host. And those are just the ones I can think of, like off the top of my head.
Drinker of coffee.
Drinker of coffee. I am a drinker of alcohol and coffee.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to mixing the two. Like that's okay too. So these are very, very real identities
Mhm.
that we all subscribe to. We all have our own identities. We live these identities and we play these roles to varying degrees every day. Um, Different identities carry different amounts of weight, right?
Mhm.
So some identities are like um, hats that we put on or take off according to where our attention is focused at on a particular time or according to seasons in our life. I call
Mhm.
these working identities, right? So, as an example, during football season, I identify as a Green Bay Packer fan.
Yeah.
After the Super Bowl, I'm still a Packer fan, but I'm not as immersed into it or identifying with it as closely as I am as when they're playing,
Mhm.
right?
I'm I'm a
At what,
I'm a teak. I'm a member of Tau Kappa Epsilon fraternity. So that was my collegiate
yeah,
fraternity. Always will be. Rest of my life, I'll be a teak. Always have a bond with those guys, but I don't see them as much, and I don't wear the gear as much as I used to. But I
there you
will
go.
always be that. That's one of my identities.
That's right. At one point, I identified as a mortgage broker, right? Now I don't. Now I never will again. But that was one of my identities in there. And I thought of you on this one, quoting, like referring back to my last episode. At one point, you were a Cracker Barrel waiter. You know,
True that.
now you're not.
Now I'm not.
And you probably never will again. I don't think you ever will be again,
Oh, I'm
but
trying my best. I'm fighting like the third monkey trying to get on the ark to not do that again or anything similar to that.
I love that one.
Yeah, it's so good.
Randy Bartman, I talked about making a label and calling it
Third
Third
monkey.
Monkey Records. um, So, what I like to call blueprint identities are
Mm,
part of our chassis, if you will. They're part of our constitution or our character. They're always there, and everything points to these, right? So, for you, Brent, you're always a Christian, you're
mm.
always a family man, and you're a songwriter.
Yeah,
So
a
everything you
creative.
do, a creative, and
Yeah.
everything you do in your life is focused on serving your God, your wife, your children, and scratching that creative itch,
Mhm.
right? Songwriting chose you,
Yeah,
creative chose you. I don't think you chose it, it chose you.
correct.
Like you did so many things that just didn't look good on paper to service that itch.
Yeah, I didn't choose
Just
it. It just, more discovered that's part of who I am. That's how I'm wired. I
oh,
didn't
I
choose
like
it, I
that.
discovered it.
I like that. Some of the working identities that you've taken on in the past, like the Cracker Barrel waiter,
Mhm.
grease truck driver, etc.
Yeah.
Those were taken on to close your blueprint identity gaps
Mhm.
of being a songwriter, a husband, a father,
Mhm.
right? Um, the other identities you subscribe to, they got to be connected to or congruent with your blueprint identities. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? These are mine, by the way. I created blueprint identity and working identity in my show prep for this. I like this.
Nice.
I don't know if they need to be tweaked, but I like the way they work right now. Like that's a DNA.
Yeah.
um, so
Boy, I wanna
we
jump
have
what probably is ahead if your identity doesn't attach and isn't congruent with your ultimate, like, blueprint identity, it causes a lot of friction.
well, let's go down that road for a second. Like just go run with what you just said. And you're not jumping ahead. Just
Oh, okay.
run with what you just said. Let me just jump in and then we'll because you're on the right track.
Okay, so, yeah, as Johnny said, my main identities, a follower
Your
of Christ.
blueprint identities.
My blueprint identity is follower of Christ, husband, father, creative, right? Now, back in the day when I was waiting tables at Cracker Barrel and working part time at Blue Water Music, doing the royalty and admin department stuff, like doing data entry, putting in Kim Ritchie and Jim Lauderdale's and Chris Knight's, royalty data, none of my own,
Mhm,
theirs.
mhm.
Those were some identities I had. Now, I wasn't a father or husband at the time, but those, although I didn't love the job at Cracker Barrel, it was helping me get to feed that creative part of me, that hey, I want to be a songwriter, or I am a songwriter. I want to break in and be an external pro. I want to have the cuts and the stuff to go with it. So it was in service of this bigger identity of I'm a songwriter, I'm a creative. So I will take on the smaller identity to help serve this bigger one, which is one of my blueprint identities, right? And
Yeah.
so it was still annoying, but it was congruent. It's getting me to where I want to go. Now, when I had to God took me out of the music business for a while, almost completely. several years ago, and I was doing sales for that rendering recycling company. That was a lot harder, like, to
Mm.
live with, because I felt like it was taking me away from one of my blueprint identities, not helping me get toward it. It didn't feel as congruent. Now, it did it did serve other parts of my blueprint identity, being a father and a husband, because it provided for
Mhm.
my family, but it wasn't hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah.
So there was that conflict. I freaking hated that job. Whereas, like, say now, Songwriting Pro is one of my identities, podcaster, doing
Yep.
this stuff. It hits on all my blueprint identities. It helps. It's creative. It gives me time to write songs, so it helps feed and like getting to hang out with people doing video content challenge. I met Matt Bailey, who did one of our
Yeah.
VCCs with us, and we've been writing. He cut one of my songs, so met him through that. So it helps feed that creative identity. It helps with my blueprint identity, being a husband and a father, because it gives me flexibility in my schedule. It helps pay the bills, so it helps provide for my family, and it doesn't conflict with my identity as a follower of Christ. It gives me time off to go on mission trips, and it gives me money to give to charity, and hey, I get to witness every once in a while, just through having a platform and being who I am. So I love it.
Yeah.
So there's no
Yeah.
conflict here.
That's so poetic.
Well, me do words good.
The situation is even poetic. The way you described it was certainly poetic, but the action of it was also poetic. I think about that with my identity too. I remember, I got off the road, and the first place I came was Nashville,
hmm
because I thought, well, maybe I'll try this songwriter thing, and that just was not going to be my identity.
Yeah.
It just kind of wasn't working. There was just something was off there. I
hmm
didn't know how to describe it. And when I got the opportunity to move to LA, which you'd think would be somehow associated with music, but it wasn't. It was business. It
hmm
was the electronics industry. And I went out there and I did it. I know this for a fact. I remember specifically right before I left going, I'll be back.
hmm
Like, I knew somehow I was on a journey that was going to bring me back to Nashville and to the music industry. I wasn't sure what it was, and there was certainly other identities that I took along that journey uh, that brought me back here. But I, I remember the of me trying to play, like, be the adult. I'm married, and I'm like, okay, now we're gonna go make some more money. And
hmm
when I got on the mortgage thing, I did that really well. We
Yeah.
made like a boatload of cash, and it but it was off, to
Yeah.
your point. It wasn't congruent with my blueprint identities, and it wasn't about the money. It just was. That's what I was keeping score on, though, and I was keeping score kind of in the wrong game,
Yeah.
you know, because my blueprint, I needed to be taken it back, and it took a whole meltdown to kind of, where I lost everything, to say, well, okay, me thinking that making more money and being in this industry that I thought was like an industry for adults, and
Hmm.
and um, more a stable industry, that was a load of crap, like
Yeah.
it was. I mean,
2008
the
showed us
revelation,
how
yeah,
stable. Yeah.
the revelation I had was like, I can literally get this kind of chaos doing what I love to do. So what am I doing? And I just remember how much, when your identities are congruent, how much other people resonate with that, how they
Mhm.
respond to that. Because I had called my dad and told him, I'm I'm getting the hell out of Dodge. I'm going back to Nashville. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go produce records, and this is kind of before I even cooked up the idea for Daredevil. But it just was, I was just like, look at what I did. I made all this money. I built this whole thing. I had this whole system set up. It was freaking amazing. And I found out I didn't really like it. I
Mhm.
like the growing part of it. I like the challenge of doing better than before, but I actually hated the gig.
Yeah.
And
You just like
um,
progress,
I like progress, and I was getting,
success.
like, money for it,
Yeah.
so all of a sudden that can be kind of intoxicating. Y y and, it's, like, legal and all that stuff, but still, it's just as it was debilitating,
Yeah.
and I told my dad, I said, "I'm going back to produce records. And he was like, "So you're done chasing the buck then?"
I was like, well, you can
And
put it that way.
I was like, "Yeah," because he goes, "You're really good at it." But he was almost uh, like busting my balls for like, duh.
Yeah,
I didn't know what the hell you were doing over there. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like that's not what your identity is. I know what your identity is since you're a little kid. This is music chose me. I didn't choose music, right?
yeah.
So yeah, so I think that's really I love the way that you put that, and you sort of made me sort of reframe it a different way. So these are the identities, and sometimes when I have so many similar stories that you do, Brent,
Mhm,
like with the when I drove for Uber. That
mhm.
that was me having the identity of an Uber driver. You may just call that a job, but hey, that is your identity. I mean, in a way, your job is your
I
identity.
mean,
And
people would
and
refer to you as like if they only knew you through that context, like, "Oh, that's Johnny. He's an Uber driver." Well, what's that if it's
exactly,
not
and
an
how
identity?
and you know how many freaking people I picked up like from the industry, that I'm like, oh, I really want to meet this person, but I'm not going to do it here. Like, with this identity, I'm going to put on a different
Oh,
identity.
dude, that can be so painful. I did
Oh
that
my
some at
god.
Starbucks because one of my previous identities is barista,
Yeah.
and I remember John Party coming in. I remember,
Oh,
some other people maybe come through the drive-through. Of course, we're over in Nashboro Village over in Antioch area, so you're not getting a lot of country folks, uh, artists and stuff, not like working downtown or something. But
right.
some that come in, and I'm just like, so close yet so far away.
Yeah. You're like, I really want to talk to you, but
Hey,
not
here's your
now.
coffee. I got some song ideas I scribbled on the side if you want to get together. It's like, oh, not the place.
Right? So it's like I think one of the places we fail is that or one of the let's just say this, let's not call it fail. One of the places we experience friction, to
Mhm,
use your word, Brian, because that's really good, is when the identities aren't consonant with when the working identities are not consonant with the blueprint
mhm,
identity,
mhm.
right? And I mean, even as like I remember specifically having just a lot of respect for you with the barista thing, like health insurance for
Yeah,
my family, and that's what you needed at the time. So
yeah.
that's what you did. And it also forced your butt to get up so dang early that by the time you were done with the gig, you still had a whole day left, like
Right.
to go about, your other business and
Mhm,
stuff, which was cool. So it's like when we make those kind of choices that support the blueprint identity, um, we feel better about it. We don't feel lost.
mhm.
And sometimes I think part of the reason I want to talk about identities here before I get to this big part, the big reveal here, which is going to blow your mind. I think it blew my mind when I heard this. Part of it is just go back and reevaluate the identities. What are your identities right now? And are the working identities congruent on serving the blueprint identities? You
Mhm.
if they're not, what can you do to change it? You know, on one hand, I'm being a good provider and a good husband, making boatloads of money in the mortgage industry, but on the other hand, it it wasn't creative and um, in the sense of it just wasn't it wasn't creative. It could be financially creative, but only to a certain degree within the guidelines of the whatever the
Legally.
lender's rules are.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But it's like, so but I mean, they're so sophisticated. There is room for creativity there,
Mhm.
believe me, where you can when you're a student of the game, and you're really freaking the rules, there are amazing things that you can come up with,
Mhm.
um, that can change the world. I mean, literally can change the world. But I won't go into some of the stuff that we thought of before, but it's like, oh, look at this loophole here,
Hmm.
or this thing that they didn't think about here. Like nobody's thinking about it this way,
Mhm.
but there it is. This is right here in paper. It's absolutely legal. We could do this and help a bunch of people. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But it's just weird or odd. So going down that road, like of that was the friction. That was the like probably one of the darkest moments in my life that had because then everything went away, right? Like the stuff that was sort of keeping me on the nipple, so to speak, when the money went away, because they shut everything down, and then all of a sudden it's failing, man, you feel like a failure,
Yeah.
right? You feel like a failure. And I want to go into that feeling of failure and into the fear of failure and what identities we're associating it with.
Mhm.
This is the gig here. This is the secret, right? So when we have a fear of failure,
Mhm.
so when we're not doing something we should be doing because we're afraid, we have that, we've called it the imposter syndrome, or if there's a fear of success, right? There's some people that just don't feel deep down inside maybe they're worthy
Mhm.
of the success, and so they self-sabotage. Sometimes it manifests itself that way, or they analyze it to death, taking no action, which is what last episode was about for me. Just kind of like, you can know everything you want to know, but that doesn't have anything to do with the results,
Mhm.
right? Without action, you have to take the action. So action first sometimes is a lot better, than overanalyzing everything to death, learning
Yeah.
everything you can, and then finding 5,000 reasons why you're not going to do it. Why? Because you have a fear of failure. And what we're afraid of is that failing or somehow not getting a specific result. And so there's that again. Now we're tying it back to that episode. Are you married to the results or are you married to the action,
Right.
right? So when you have a fear of failure, just the fear of failure, what you're doing is you are, first of all, married to the result, and you're afraid that failing at the result will erode, will significantly damage, or in some cases, maybe completely erase one or more of our blueprint identities,
Mhm.
or some cases, our working identities,
Yeah.
right? Like if I'm a songwriter, if I'm identifying as a songwriter and I have an identity gap and I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing to actually be a songwriter,
Mhm.
but I consider myself a songwriter, that's the identity. We've got some friction there. And then the fear, if I am married to the result, is that if I fail, I won't be a songwriter,
Right.
right? Um, I won't be, I'll get a divorce. I won't
Yeah.
be a husband. My family will cast me. I won't be a son, a brother,
Mhm.
an uncle, you know. Um, if you follow that dream and you fail, what does the outcome mean for you, right? For your identities as, like for you, Brent, like as a Christian, as a
Mhm.
father, as a husband, as a son, for me, as a rocker, as a businessman, as a teacher, as, all those, right? This is what we're really, worried about.
Mhm.
And so I think we subconsciously and consciously get bogged down with this so heavy that this is what we're afraid of. So we avoid the risks. We don't
Mhm.
do what we're supposed to do. We don't play out the outcome in our heads. Like when um there was one of the speakers at the Russell Brunson thing that was saying, you consistently go to your crappy side hustle every day. You consistently um you consistently, overeat if that's what you do, right? You consistently um go to school if that's what you got to do for school. You don't have a consistency problem. You have a commitment problem,
Yeah.
right? Because um you know, you have played out in your head exactly what happens if you choose not to go to work on your crappy side hustle. No money, no rent, no food for the kids, for the wife, or for the husband. And, if you don't go to school, what's going to happen if you consistently don't abide by the law?
Mhm.
You've played out in your head, you're going to go to jail,
Right.
right? Like that's an intolerable thing. But when we're talking about those identities that are sort of attached to dreams, we don't consistently play out. What happens if I don't take care of this?
Mhm.
right? What's my life going to look like? I'm still going to be at this crappy side hustle. I'm going to be hating life, And this is why we self-sabotage.
It's
This is
like
why we quit
external.
early.
It's like external reinforcement versus internal reinforcement. I mean, external reinforcement, your boss is externally reinforcing you and your paycheck if you don't show up to work or do show up at work, right? That's external
Yeah.
reinforcement of that consistency. With your side hustle,
Yeah.
like, really, is your wife going to be like, why aren't you working on your music?
Right.
When instead of sitting on the
Right.
couch with me watching whatever TV show, like,
Yeah.
it's got to come from you
Well,
because it's hard to, So that's
let's put this into a real world story. Let's just throw you up on the stage, Brent. Let's
okay.
talk about your situation. So hit songwriter,
Mhm.
and then time moves on. You get married, and then all of a sudden, you're not getting in those same rooms again, right?
Yeah.
It takes an ebb and a flow.
Mhm.
Well, now you got to go get another job to be a good husband, to provide some steady
And
income.
Evan
To
hated it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly, right?
Right.
So then you're doing this, and like you said
Was Evan
before earlier
miserable?
in this episode, that was miserable,
Yeah.
and so you were actively trying to find a way to scratch that itch
Mhm.
and do what you had to do.
Yeah.
So, you were doing some multitasking stuff
Mhm.
where you started, okay, I need some more information here, like, and started, becoming a podcast junkie
For sure.
while you were driving around because you had the time to do
But
that.
what
So,
does
hey,
this
I
make
can,
possible? All this time alone in
yeah,
this truck makes it possible, and the company iPhone makes it possible for me to start listening to these things called podcast, which were
yep.
new and fairly unknown to me. So, yes.
Yeah, and where you got different information,
Mhm.
different input, right? You got knowledge, you got inspiration,
Yes.
you got education, all of that stuff happened. And then you went on to a lot of late nights,
Mhm.
right? Um, Putting our podcast together. There were times when you and I were doing our podcast at, 11 o'clock at night
Yeah. Wait
in the
till the
beginning,
kids went to
right?
bed. So, thank you, Johnny, for
Yeah.
meeting me at night when you could
Yeah,
have been out.
because it had to happen, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because it had to happen, like, "Well, this is what we're gonna do, this is the right thing to do, this identity is congruent with my blueprint
Mhm.
identity," so that was worth it,
Yeah.
that was worth it to me, because you always show up, and it was worth it to you because you always did show up, obviously, you proved it with your presence and your ability to go and do that, and then what happens is you are able to replace the income that you were making and be able to leave the grease truck
Mhm.
thing and then focus more on creating more relationships. And now, you're knee deep back in the
Yeah.
writing circle, the whole thing. You turn that whole thing around. Didn't happen on company hours. I mean, it did kind of happen on company hours, but I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't like 9 to 5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you were working after 5, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
still being the good father, putting the kids to bed, and then saying, okay, now I have to do this because in your mind, you had played through the outcome. If I don't do this now and put in this extra time and put in some sleepless nights or nights where I don't get enough sleep,
Mhm.
then I'm looking at this effing grease truck and that
In perpetuity.
yeah, I got a freaking college education. I don't need to this
Or
that's not my
some,
story. That's
or
not who
I'll
I am.
upgrade to some other job I hate.
Yeah, yeah,
Then I'm like,
yeah,
no, no.
exactly. Okay, so here it is. So check this out. The secret that I'm going to share with you involves you adding one more, every single listener, add one more blueprint identity to your portfolio.
Hmm.
This blueprint identity is the identity that will drive your success, whatever success, quote unquote, means for you, because you'll eliminate the fear of failure. It will also obliterate all of the emotional anguish that happens in the wake of a failure because this blueprint identity will eliminate failure from your life. Can you guess what it is?
No, I have no freaking idea.
Okay.
I have no idea.
The blueprint identity that you need to add and what you need to identify with is that of a learner
Hmm.
or a student. If you identify as a learner, if you identify as a student, you'll never be afraid of failing in the future because you don't achieve the desired result. You don't feel like a failure. You feel like you learned something,
Is that old
right?
saying of, or maybe not even so old, either I win or I learn.
Yeah. And by the way, I mean, I hadn't thought about it this way, and maybe this is extremely apparent to everybody listening to me, but the this is the tool to make sure you're married to the action and not to the result.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I
So,
mean, student, but yet, a doer, a
yeah,
student doer, how's maybe another way to say that, to get the
student as
action
in
in there.
student of the game, student as in student of the game,
Mhm.
or learner maybe would be a better way to do it. Like you're always
An applying
learning.
learner or something like that. Like, I wanna get
Yeah,
that action in there. It's not just learning. It's not just being a student of the game, it's being a practitioner. So,
yeah, a
an
practitioner
act
learner. There
like
you
it,
go.
yeah, something like that.
That's better. That's better. I like that. And you're when you stumble, right,
Mhm,
or you fail to achieve the result that you wanted, like getting that pub deal, or getting that song deal with a
mhm,
publisher, or getting that gig, or getting that validation as an artist, or getting that, the big gig as an artist, right? You're not going to rot in the depths of despair
mhm.
because you'll be reveling in the lesson that you just learned. I
Yeah,
figured out one more way not to make a light bulb. Are you going to be frustrated? Yeah. Are
mhm.
you going to be pissed off? Yeah. Is it? I mean, for me, it pisses me off. I get pissed off at
Yeah,
failure. You know what I mean? But it's like frustrated, pissed off. It's not. But I'm not like, oh God,
I'm done.
maybe they were right. Yeah,
Yeah,
like because you don't like if you are identifying as a learner, as a as a practitioner and then a learner, you when you fail at a specific song or a specific result that you wanted for a specific song, it doesn't take away your identity as a songwriter.
mhm.
It doesn't take
No,
away your identity as a husband, as
mhm.
a wife, as a Christian, as a businessman, as a successful person. Like it just means, okay, let's not do that one
Now
again,
I'm a wiser songwriter. Now I'm a wiser husband.
Exactly. And so I think like, what did we learn? Like what happened here? What did we learn? Like when we're doing the digital marketing stuff, we're testing all the freaking time
Mhm,
because that crap changes all the time. Sometimes I'll go through a massive amount of effort and energy to create like the perfect video ad for one of my clients. And we'll test that against an image ad. And, sometimes the freaking image ad
which
works
which
better.
took a tenth
You
of
know
the
what I mean?
time to make.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, but, you test it. You always test it. And most of the time it's video, but sometimes it's not, which is really strange.
mhm,
Or I'll have, like, a sort of meat and potatoes video ad put together, and the beginning of the ad, I might have 5 or 6 different ways. You know why? Knowing I'm gonna fail
mhm,
and thinking I'm gonna learn which one works and which one doesn't.
mhm.
And so then I can if I'm only doing one and I fail, then it's like, oh, now what would have worked better? I don't know. We've blown the budget. Maybe we've lost a client. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's all kinds of things that happen if I'm just identifying myself as a marketer or a artist promoter kind of a thing. But if I go in and I'm identifying as a learner, as a searcher for the truth, right? Then I'm expecting to fail. Here's 6 different ads. 5 of them aren't gonna do as good as one of them.
it's not failure, it's feedback,
Yeah,
right?
it's that same thing, right? So, it's kind of a different way to sort of look at like, I really wanted to go through the depths of some of the, the failures that you and I had, Brent,
Mhm,
with and what that meant to our identities, and then talked about, some of the things that we've done that maybe didn't look good on paper that were working identities that supported the blueprint
mhm.
identity. But
It's it's a little bit of judo. Like, I'm not a judo guy, but, you use your opponent's momentum against them kinda thing. It's
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
was having to go work at
I like
Starbucks
that.
a failure? Well, I like to think of it as judo that use that momentum to my advantage of going, now I have health insurance, so my wife can continue to stay home. Or I think she worked some then. She was doing some nannying then. But found a thing that I would work from 5 to 10 in the morning, be on the road by 10:30, and, have a little bit of like, ooh, that helps out financially because I get a check, and I had a publishing deal during a lot of this time too. but still that helps with that because now we have another mouth to feed because Ozzy was on the way. Or the sales thing with the grease company, judo. Okay, what does this make possible? You know, like, oh, now I'm listening to podcasts, and there's a seed of hope about online business, and maybe this could be a thing, and I'll start blogging and podcasting, and maybe that can one day be the platform that allows me to launch off back into a creative life again.
Yeah.
And so it's, how can they, how can I turn this failure into a little judo move to eventually turn it to
use the momentum of that to work back against the system to get where you want to go. The system being like, maybe you feel like the universe working against you or something, because how the hell am I driving a grease truck, right? But not. And let's also point out that if you're identifying as an expert or only a songwriter in, aside from your blueprint stuff, right? Aside from you're always a Christian dad, like that. But if you don't identify as the seeker of the truth or the learner or whatever, like none of that map was finished, like until like you were almost through the whole maze. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was just like, okay, what do we learn now? Okay, I don't like that. I do like this result. Let's go down this road and let's go down this road. And you and I got together and started doing a podcast, and then you did this, and then you did that, and you spent a little extra time here, and then, oh my God, it made some money. Well, if we made $200, we made 2,000. Oh my God, we made 2,000. We made 2,000, we made 20,000. Oh my God, we made 20,000. And then we just kept upping it from there. You know what I mean? But that wasn't, there was no framework that you bought, that you learned. It was, you couldn't have done it if driving a grease truck meant that you failed as a songwriter.
Right. Because I was on pause. I was hibernating to come out as a butterfly. All right, caterpillar days are over. Come on.
And the same with me, like going through the route of, coming off the road as an artist. I mean, they just lifted up, they took the identity away. Okay, you don't get to be a hairband guy anymore. I mean, kind of not, at least they took the idea, they took the ability to make a living at it away. So we had to go do different things, but I went through, some weird routes on that journey to come back here, and all that stuff that I learned along the way. And this is what I'm saying, like at the beginning of the episode, before I left, like I knew I would be back, and I didn't know what it was I was going to learn, but I knew that somehow I had to go out here to come back here and add value. It's not as an artist. And I'm so cool with that. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I really am. Like, it just was so much great. So there it is. I mean, it's this blueprint identity of that learner. It makes you a better everything. It put that up top. Put that up. Put as much weight on that as you do being a good father, a good husband, a good Christian, a good, those blueprint, those core value identities. Include that in there. It makes all those better.
It's a booster.
It's a booster.
Identity.
It makes all those better. Because there's no such thing as a struggle-free life. There's no such thing as a struggle-free artist career. People love to say it. People love to say that about Taylor Swift. They love to say that about Skid Row, because, oh, well, it must be nice if you know Bon Jovi. I guess you just get to go out on tour and sell 4 million records. And it was like, no.
He knew other people.
There was a lot more. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't, it's a break that happened for them, but it wasn't by luck. They were there. They had a relationship with him because they were in a band with him before, and they knew him, and there was a big, strong connection there. And so it's all kind of circles back around. So I want you guys to think about, list out what your blueprint identities are. What are those blueprint identities that you have right now? And then what are those working identities that you have? And then are they consonant with what are they supporting the blueprint identity, or are they not? If they're not, then, you got to rethink that, and you got to retweak that. And then putting this, the student, the learner, the seeker of the truth, whatever you want to call that. Okay. Those are all interchangeable names. you put that out front. Okay. And that makes everything work better because now you just learn how to become a better person. Right. Which I think is maybe one of the most overarching things of all religions, right? Like, hey, get better, right? Do better today than you did yesterday, and be a better human, be a better artist, be a better father. So hope that helps, guys. I kind of, I panicked a little bit at the beginning because I was like, is this just like the last episode I did? Because am I high right now? Am I just Ashley regurgitating the same frickin' episode I just did 2 weeks ago? Like, what's going on?
Not at all.
But no, it was like, no, it was going deeper. It was going deeper into that. So, hey guys, we are here to help you with, if you need consultations on your personal journeys for your artist stuff. There's a lot of moving parts right now. You're in the middle of a paradigm shift. We can give you overarching general knowledge, but sometimes the application of that knowledge to your specific situation can get lost. I just spent a boatload of money getting coaching from my company for the exact same reason with like Russell Brunson and his crew at ClickFunnels, because I need to see some forest of the trees kind of a thing too. So always trying to go. So let us help you out. Email us at info@daredevilproduction.com, put consultation into the subject line, and we can help you make sure that you're on the right track and that you're doing everything that you can do right now to move your artist identity or songwriter identity along to the point where you can ditch some of those supporting working identities that maybe are just going to be a stepping stone kind of a thing, So that's it, guys. So, subscribe or follow the podcast, join the C.L.I.M.B community, tell a friend about it. This podcast exists because we want you to win, so keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.